Realmathon has officially begun. I don't know, it's really strange. And then again, revolving and revolving and revolving around the point. She'd started to feel like every beginning was just the beginning of something ending. Oh god, I'm already getting major pretentious vibes from the MMC. Douchiest hairstyle ever. It takes everything in me not to remind my brother that he's going to have to live the rest of his life knowing I've fucked his wife. This book is like simultaneously light and so savage with how the main character talks about her family. The handyman boyfriend is insane. Hello, I'm Beth Joey. This is a video. These are some books. Let's get into it. Realmathon has officially begun. It is technically day 2 because day 1 was a Friday and I was working, so I didn't really want to film. I didn't have any makeup on. It was a whole thing. But anyway, it's day 2 of Realmathon. It is Saturday and I'm so excited to get kickstarted straight into the readathon. If you don't already know what this is, Realmathon is a month-long readathon hosted by Cassidy over at Covers with Cassidy. I'll put her announcement video in the description box down below. It is not too late for you to join. This runs for the whole month of March and it's going to be amazing. I am pledged to the Shadow Realm, so of course that is the realm that you should join, but do let me know in the comments down below if you've already joined, what realm you've joined, because there's no bias here, there's no favoritism here. I am just glad that we're all going to be reading together in March. But anyway, let's get straight into the reading vlog and talk about what I'm going to be reading first. If you've seen some of my vlogs recently, you know that I've really gone hell for leather all out on the library books lately, which means I have like 6 or so library books that I need to read in the next 2 weeks in order to not have my library being like, give these back now please before I've read them. So my plan for the first week of Realmathon is just to read all of those library books, even if they don't really get me a ton of points. And I am starting with the Breakup Tour by Siegemund-Broka and Emily Wibberley. This book is a contemporary romance that is incredibly Taylor Swift coded. It's a fairly recent release and it follows Riley Wynn, who went from promising singer-songwriter to absolutely unprecedented Taylor Swift style fame when she released her album The Breakup Record, where each song on that album relates to a romance in her life. One of these songs though means even more to her than all of the rest, and it's Until You, and this is the song that went absolutely viral. It is about a guy that she dated for 9 months in college. They had a whirlwind romance and his name was Max. He is the one that got away for her. And then we flip to Max's point of view. Yes, that's right, it is a dual POV. Max has been living in Harcourt Homes, which is a retirement facility that him and his family run. He primarily runs it with his sister now because his parents have retired themselves, except Harcourt Homes is struggling. Max makes a deal with Riley that he will come on tour with her and sing Until You with her on stage if she pays him to do it, knowing that that money will save Harcourt Homes. So of course they go on tour together. They are staying in the same tour bus, so it's not so much one bed trope, but it's one living space trope. They are singing this beautifully romantic song together every single night. I make it sound like I finished it. I haven't. This is all just from the blurb, and like the first few pages of the book is jumping right in to the story. And yeah, I'm gonna keep reading and do my usual random updates throughout the vlog, except with a little bit of a different twist to how I usually do them, and I want your thoughts on whether or not you like it. So let's get stuck into the reading.
Oh my god, this writing is melancholic and flowery right off the bat. This is so amazingly Taylor Swift coded and I love it. Some of these sentences are filled with so many massive words that I literally have to shake my head and reread them in order to gather any semblance of meaning. I can't tell if it's genius and flowery or pretentious as shit. Some of these sentences sound like song lyrics too. Melodies hold memories, and dark prince who snared the sharp-tongued starlet, and passages of memory unnerving in their finitude.
I think the writing just feels a little bit disjointed for me so far. One sentence, you know, is just completely standard and in normal prose, and then the next sentence is just like thrown in there completely flowery and purple prose and all that, and it just makes, it really takes you out of the reading experience because it disrupts the whole rhythm and cadence of the story, which is ironic considering this whole book is like a love letter to music and to Taylor Swift.
She pulls really random meaning from literally every mundane thing. Jesus, both of these authors are really good at using a lot of words to say absolutely nothing.
Whilst this book is compulsively readable, I also think it skirts around every point that it's trying to make before it makes it. So you're like revolving and revolving and revolving and revolving around the point, and then you make it. And then again, revolving and revolving and revolving around the point. and then it's made. Okay, we're thoroughly into the romancy bit now, and the push and pull of desire that Max feels in his chapters as he's trying to like resist the desire but also feel it is amazing. And the miscommunication trope, which is something I know people usually hate, is running absolutely rampant in this story, but I'm kind of loving it. Okay, I'm seriously not kidding when I say there is one page that has both the lines, "I've run marathons down memory lanes," and she'd started to feel like every beginning was just the beginning of something ending. This is the prose that I'm talking about. That's two things on one page. It's just littered throughout. But putting critical me aside for a second, this story really does make a romance out of songwriting, out of performing. It really feels like a romance not only between these two characters, but a romance completely surrounding music. It's so clear that they are so devoted to their passion. Hey, I am back. I am back from my trip to the library, and I've actually finished the Breakup tour. So there were no sort of midway updates in the way that I know I usually would, because I just raced through this book, but I still only gave it 3 stars because at the end of the day, this book felt to me like it was more of a love letter to music than it was a love story between, why do I always forget the characters' names, Riley and Max. Don't get me wrong, I loved their relationship. I thought it was swoony at times, but the two characters themselves were so incredibly frustrating in their indecisiveness and complete inability to communicate. And then, as I said before, with like the language, it definitely felt disjointed at times, but I ended up realizing that the language didn't feel, or the writing didn't feel disjointed when it was waxing, you know, romantically about music, but it did when it was talking romantically about the characters. So that's why I feel like it was really more of a love letter to music than it was a love story. By the end of the story, I think our two main characters really hadn't dealt with the things that kept them apart, though I will give these two authors so much credit for writing the most amazing grand gesture scene that has ever grand gestured. It is literally the perfect scene for any girl who grew up in love with a singer-songwriter or singer or performer or whatever it may be, and dreamed that one day they would fall in love with them as well, because this grand gesture was probably something I've dreamed about at some point when I was growing up, and it was amazing and it had me genuinely feeling things. But then because of that writing and the language in the rest of the story, I just couldn't get invested in the relationship because they were just so frustrating and they didn't deal with anything that was actually keeping them apart. So I gave the book 3 stars, and we're moving on to the next one. I've returned it to the library, hence why I'm not holding it up. Basically, we've got 7 other library books to now choose what I'm reading next, and I will hold them up for you so we can go through each of them. We've got Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is the 2nd book in the Natural series. Then we've got Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carline. Then All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. A Lady's Guide to Scandal by Sophie Irwin. A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. And finally, Throne of the Fallen by Kerri Maniscalco. So as for what I'm reading next, we can already discount some of these books. So I'm discounting Throne of the Fallen by Kerri Maniscalco because I want to reread the Kingdom of the Wicked series, or I've only read the first book, so I want to reread that book and read the rest of the series before I jump into this so I don't get spoiled. I'm also immediately going to discount All the Light We Cannot See because I feel like this is hefty and emotional and I might want the audiobook for this one. So we're going to discount that one, which leaves these 5 left. So I'm going to enter these 5 books into a Wheel of TBR kind of app and record my screen, and we're going to use that to pick what I'm reading next. So I'm recording my screen now. Let's tap to spin and find out what we're going to be reading next. It's spinning. We've got, it looks like Before We Were Strangers. Oh, it's really on the line there. Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carline is going to be the next book. I think this one gets me 2 bonus points for my Shadow Realm, in that I think the cover is like at least 50% black, and then the fogginess in the background, I think those are buildings and stuff, so I'll get both of that. But as for what this one's about, I don't really know, so I'm gonna read you the blurb. And it says, "To the green-eyed lovebird, we met 15 years ago, almost to the day when I moved my stuff into the NYU dorm room next to yours at senior house. You call us fast friends. I like to think it was more. We lived on nothing but the excitement of finding ourselves through music." Another music one. "You were obsessed with Jeff Buckley. Photography, I couldn't stop taking pictures of you, hanging out in Washington Square Park, and all the weird things we did to make money. I learned more about myself that year than any other, yet somehow it all fell apart. We lost touch the summer after graduation when I went to South America to work for National Geographic. When I came back, you were gone. A part of me still wonders if I pushed you too hard after the wedding. I didn't see you again until a month ago. It was a Wednesday. You were rocking back on your heels, balancing on that thick yellow line that runs along the subway platform, waiting for the F train. I didn't know it was you until it was too late, and then you were gone. Again, you said my name, I saw it on your lips. I tried to will the train to stop just so I could say hello. After seeing you, all of the youthful feelings and memories came flooding back to me, and now I've spent the better part of a month wondering what your life is like. I might be totally out of my mind, but would you like to get a drink with me and catch up on the last decade and a half? M. Okay, so that sort of blurb is presumably a letter one character wrote to the other. And there are so many little hints and suggestions, I guess, in that blurb that has me really intrigued to learn more. So like what is the wedding that they pushed too hard after and all this sort of thing? How did their lives separate and come back together? I'm really intrigued. Before I go though, we need to record the previous book into the Google form so that I can collate my points. So I am recording my laptop screen now so you can see. My allegiance lies with the realm of shadows. My book that I read, I'm already forgetting the name. Why am I forgetting the name? The Breakup tour by, I'm not gonna write who it was by because that's both names, and the total pages was 322. Next. Then I'm gonna go for increasing. I'm just all about the positivity, increasing points for my realm, and I'm probably gonna do that the whole way through. And as for the prompts I can use for it, it's not a 5-star read, it's not a Cassidy fave, it's not a special edition, it's not a book I paid for. I don't think the authors use a pseudonym. It's not a social media scroll. It's a required read in the sense that I got it from the library and I needed to read it ASAP. A popcorn read, I think, just means like a good time. So it's not that. As for even amount of letters in the title, THEBREAKUPTOUR. That's 14 letters. So it's got an even amount of letters in the title. Not a poll pick. It is new to my TBR. I didn't read it in multiple formats. It's not a buddy read. It's not a final book. And I didn't read it in one setting. So I can only get 3 points for this one. I wonder if I would have gotten more if I had have done the decreasing. But anyway, cover color was not 50% black. So that's definitely not a bonus thing. Cover item, it didn't have a building on the cover. So I won't get points for that. School setting, it wasn't in a school setting. So I did not complete a bonus prompt. And I can now submit that. So my response has been submitted and I did not get many points for my team. So shameful me for that one. But let's crack straight into Before We Were Strangers and see what we think of this guy. Oh god, I'm already getting major pretentious vibes from the MMC. These men are already despicable. I mean, please pray with me for some incredible character arc that has these men seriously realizing the error of their ways. Jesus Christ, these men are the kind of men that make women uncomfortable on the train because they're staring. It's so frustrating to me when the cover doesn't match the characters as they're described in the book. In the book, he's described as having a man bun. I mean, side note, douchiest hairstyle ever, but I've seen no man bun. Here is me hoping and praying for a POV switch sometime soon. I mean, so many red flags that this woman isn't even clocking. Creep factor 1,000 from this guy, come on. She's flinching and moving away from you, dude. Take a hint. I'll never understand why being a virgin is kind of positioned as some really bad thing, and so is sleeping with too many people. Like, what the hell is the right number? I feel like this guy is taking advantage of a woman in a very financially vulnerable situation. Finally, a Grace point of view. I think I'm just hate reading at this point. Like, why is this book addictive? Matt seems like such a gentlemanly hero from Grace's point of view, but then I just have to remind myself of how he seemed in his own point of view and how he was a dick, and it's just really confusing me, and I'm struggling to understand how I'm supposed to feel about this guy. Okay, I'm enjoying this book more now. It's like a young love fever dream, and Matt is definitely having a character arc that's making him way more decent. Morning. It is day 3 of Readathon, and we had a really productive reading day on day 2. I mean, I finished the first book that I picked up for this readathon, which for some reason the name of it is escaping me, The Breakup Tour, and I started and finished Before We Were Strangers by Renee, Carline, and this book was definitely a wild ride for me. As you can tell from the earlier snippets, I started this book truly hating the main male character. I genuinely thought that there was serious abuse going on between the main male character and the female main character, because to me it kind of seemed like he was taking advantage of her financial vulnerability. But I guess throughout the rest of this book, they both developed so significantly as characters that I actually began to root for their relationship. I definitely favored Grace as a character way more than the male main character, whose name I can't even remember now, because she was just more... wholesome's the wrong word, but she had more of a good person vibe to her, whereas the guy kind of seemed like he was a dick and he just turned into a nice guy because Grace had this really, really positive impression on him. As a story, I think I really liked how it was structured, because it does essentially take place in two timelines, and it doesn't take the approach that I know a lot of books take, where you're like back and forthing between those two different timelines. This one starts in the present day and then flashes back and takes you through their whole relationship in the past before it then flashes back forward into the present day again when they're meeting again. And I think that just meant that I was able to fully situate myself in each timeline without having to go back and forth and back and forth. The one thing that I absolutely have to say about this book is that the sort of twist that happens at the end, for me, I mean, it wasn't a twist. I kind of predicted it from the very moment that it was kind of suggested that that was where that was going. But I did like how that was handled. I think it's brave. I don't think the characters ever truly resolved the issues that kept them apart in the first place, just like in the breakup tour. But you know, we do what we can with what we get, and this was a good, fun book. So now it's time to enter this into the Readathon tracker. I'm sharing my screen, so I am in the Realm of Shadows. The book is Before We Were Strangers. I'm typing this one-handed, so I might speed this up a bit. Before We Were Strangers. And the pages of the book is 308. So next, I am always going for increasing because that's where we're at. And then as for the prompts that it fits, it's not a 5-star read, it's probably not a Cassidy fave, it's definitely not a special edition, and I didn't pay for it. The author, as far as I can tell, does not use a pseudonym, was not from a social media scroll. It's a required read in that I got it from the library, and I think it's a popcorn read, which means like it's a good, like easily bingeable read, which this definitely is. There's not an even amount of letters in the title. I think this one has like 21. It's not a poll pick, but it was new to my TBR. I didn't read it in multiple formats. It's not a buddy read. It's not a final book, but I did basically read it in one sitting. So 4 prompts, that's better than last time where I think we only did 3. It's not primarily black on the cover as much as I would love to say that it is, but it does have the cover item on the cover, which is a building. Behind all those taxis, there are definitely buildings in that background. So I'm gonna go with that and submit. Then last night I went back to the wheel generator, which I'll put up on the screen, and I selected a new book, and what I ended up picking for me was A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. This cover is absolutely stunning. I love the blue. And as for what this one is about, I'm going to read you the blurb, and it says, one florist, one pianist, one love story, 100 years in the making. So that tells me romance and maybe some magical realism. Ricki Wilde has many talents, but being a Wilde isn't one of them. As the impulsive artistic daughter of a powerful Atlanta dynasty, she's the opposite of her famous socialite sisters. In her bones, Ricki knows that somewhere a more exciting life awaits her. So when she is invited to rent the bottom floor of a Harlem brownstone, Ricki jumps at the chance of a fresh start. She leaves behind her wealth and chaotic romantic decisions to realize her dream of opening a flower shop. And just beneath the surface of her new neighborhood, the music, stories, and dazzling drama of the Harlem Renaissance still simmer. Then, one evening in February, as the heady scent of night-blooming jasmine fills the air, Ricki encounters a handsome stranger who knocks her world off balance in the most unexpected way. And I am 54 pages into this book, but I'll paste my immediate reactions from last night in after this clip so that you can talk and see about how I'm feeling about this book so far. My plan for today is like a massive wedding planning day with Ben, so not a ton of reading is going to get done, but I'm hoping to at least finish this today because it's only 390 something pages, so should be a quick easy read, and I have 54 pages in already. I'm gonna get stuck into more of that book while Ben gets ready, and then we are going to crack straight into some wedding planning. And yeah, I don't know, there's nothing much going to be able to show you because it's super boring and admin-y, so let's get straight into the rest of this vlog. Best prologue ever. It was so meta. And as for the first chapter, it was only like having the story read to me by the audiobook narrator that made me realize the name of the first chapter was a pun. So it's bought me flowers lately. I love that. This book is like simultaneously light and so savage with how the main character talks about her family. And oh my god, her family sucks. I'm really loving the social anxiety rep as well. I'm feeling very, very seen. The handyman boyfriend is insane. The writing of this is so vivid and like image forward. I can truly picture the setting of a 1920s speakeasy and how like dark and musty and like with cigarette smoke and the smell of booze and the people dancing chaotically. Like, it's so visual. Hey, it is Monday morning. I have just woken up. I technically have the day off today, but because I didn't get what I wanted to get done at the end of last week, I am logging on to work a little bit today so that I can just finish off a client video that I owe to the client by the end of the day today. But anyway, A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. I actually haven't read any more of this book since I really last updated you guys, because yesterday was just a hell of a other wedding planning kind of day. We got so much done. I got my wedding day like briefing pack thing sorted where I'm just dumping all the information. We got so many things booked, so many emails sent. We got our playlist kind of top 20 songs and a few extras sorted. So much done yesterday, which meant that I didn't actually get much of this book read. So I am at page 100, no, not even 100. I'm at page 54. And I'm enjoying the book so far, but you know, it's still so early, so I don't really have much to say. So I'm just here to say hello. I'm gonna be working a little bit today, but my main goal is just gonna be to finish this book. So let's get to that and get that sorted while Ben is sitting behind me doing his work and very jealous that I've technically got the day off. The story's very Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Are Ricki and Ezra technically Della's parents? Oh my god, the biggest hint has just been dropped for Tia Williams' next book. Wow, biggest hint. I'm really loving the POV of the epilogue. I mean, it feels really special to have this element included. I mean, it's really full circle. Hey, ignore the very messy background and the fact that I haven't brushed my hair at the moment. Ben's just in the shower and I need to wait for him to get out before I can then go in and brush my hair, because that's where all my stuff is. But I wanted to come in quickly. It's Wednesday morning and I'm just getting ready for work. So I wanted to come in quickly to say that I finished A Love Song for Ricki Wilde last night by Tia Williams. I gave this book 4 stars. It was highly emotional and incredibly moving. I felt that in the same way as the Breakup tour, it's definitely a love letter to music and a love letter to art. Though I will say it's very Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It reads like it's very much inspired by that, but the societal issues that it's commenting on are very different. There's obviously a lot of commentary on racism over the years since the 1920s when Ezra was like first alive, all the way through to 2024. They do like mention the pandemic, so that's how you know you're really set in like real time, and how racism has like changed over the years from the 1920s to now, but then also aspects of it have gotten better, but then there's new phenomena that have arisen over the years. So it's really interesting how it comments on all of that. I think because this book is so similar to Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, it was incredibly predictable, I guess, by the end, which meant that when those big jaw-dropping scenes are happening with those final moments and those final characters, I wasn't particularly surprised, and I don't think I was as moved as I necessarily would have been if I hadn't read Invisible Life of Addie LaRue first. But I thought the writing was incredibly beautiful and visual in the way that it could really make you, you know, smell the flowers and visualize the 1920s speakeasy and Prohibition era and the years that Ezra experienced. And I thought the way that it exemplified the experiences and the prejudice that both of these characters had received from within their communities and outside of their communities, and how it was so different but so similar in a lot of ways, was really interesting. The family dynamics, it was definitely found family, considering the actual family in Ezra's case had long since passed, and then in Ricki's case, her family just weren't great people. So yeah, all in all, I gave this book 4 stars. As for adding up the Readathon points, I'm going to screen record it later and add it in now so that you can kind of see what all the points I gave it were and how it came out on there, because I've really got to rush off to work and I haven't even brushed my hair or anything yet. So here up in the screen is all of the Readathon aspect of it. Hopefully it got me a decent number of points. But as for what I'm reading next, I'm going to be reading Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the 2nd book in the Natural series by this author, which follows a group of very gifted young people who are recruited, I guess, by the FBI to initially solve cold cases, but then get embroiled in very live active cases because they have these skills and abilities as it relates to profiling that really makes them invaluable to solving difficult investigations. Plus there's the added element of somehow all of these investigations that they're solving are linked back to their own families and themselves in some way. So it's very, very interesting. There's an amazing love triangle that I'm enjoying at the moment, and I'm going to crack straight into reading that on my way to work, and I will give you my thoughts as usual in my usual update style.
Hey, it is Thursday, 7th of March, and I'm here to close out this vlog and close out the official first week of Readathon. I can't believe we're already at the end of week 1. There has definitely been some amazing books read this week. At the moment, I'm about halfway through Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I want to save any updates on that one for the next video so that I can do it all in one video, but I am really, really enjoying it so far. So do let me know in the comments down below if you're joining Readathon and what team you're on, or just let me know what you're reading at the moment, loving it, hating it, all that kind of thing. Come and chat to me in the comments down below. I do my best to reply to every single comment, and I love talking to you guys. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It's a super, super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!